Okay, today we're going to start multiplying integers. So this is, I know taught in grade 8, but I teach a little bit differently because in grade 8, I think you only deal with 2 integers at a time, and we're not going to waste our time with that. We're going to hop right into things. So we're going to talk about whether something is positive or negative as an end result. And I could honestly care less if you use a calculator for this, because this is not about the answer. This is about the process and understanding why. So an integer multiplication question is positive if it has an even number of negatives. Okay, the positives don't count because they're positive. So we always count and talk about how many negatives there are. So even number, I have to review this because sometimes my grade 9s don't remember. An even number would be 2, 4, 6, 8, etc. So those are all the even numbers. So if you had 2 negatives, your answer is going to be positive. If you have 4 negatives, your answer is going to be positive. Okay, so opposite of that, your answer in a multiplication of integers question would be negative if you had an odd number of negatives. And of course, we're going to show some examples. I don't know if you're like me, but when I hear rules, I hear blah, 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 pork all around a pig's butt. I actually have to see it, okay? So a quick review of what odd numbers are: 1, 3, 5, 7. Pork all around a pig's butt comes from Tisdale, by the way, where they also play Kaiser differently. Okay, so like real simple questions. If I had -1 times -3 times -2 times -1, okay? So you can see we're multiplying because they're brackets side by each like that. So not even caring about the answer, the very first thing that you have to do is you need to tell me, is it positive or is it negative? So let's count the negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 negatives, that's an even number, so my answer is going to be positive. And of course, you don't have to write the positive because that's implied in a number. If a number is positive, we don't have to write that sign. But I like to see this because it shows me that my grade 9s are actually working at this and they're thinking about the rule. And then you can go back and, like I said, you can use a calculator if you want. Okay, this is not the important part. 1 times 3 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 6 times 1 is still 6. So that would be your answer. Okay, conversely, if I had -3 times 2 times -1 times -1. Okay, all I'm caring about right now is my answer going to be positive or negative? I've got 1, 2, 3 negatives. That's an odd number of negatives. Therefore, my answer is going to be negative. That's the first thing I look for. Even if they multiplied it wrong, got it wrong, this is going to get them some marks because that's what I care about. Because we're going to move into order of operations with negatives. And we're also going to move into fractions, and fractions in grade 9 and 10 and 11 and 12 are all going to have integers in them. So it's super important that you understand that. And this is a great skill, is to know whether something's going to be positive or negative before you even approach the answer. Okay, so we can quickly go back. 3 times 2 is 6, times 1 is 6, times 1 is still 6. Okay, and yesterday I showed you that invisible 1, so that becomes important too. So if you saw a question that looked like this, subtract, and that's how you would say it, okay? Subtract -1 times -3. Okay, how many negatives show up here? This one here, because remember, that has an invisible 1 sitting in front of it. So it's really -1 times -1 times -3. What's your answer then? Negative. Now go back and do the work. 1 times 1 is 1, times 3 is 3. So you're going to get a negative answer. So you're going to get a lot of questions like that, and I'm giving you stuff right from my grade 9 textbook because that's where you need to be at with this, okay? We're not going to waste our time with like 2 numbers, okay? You guys can multiply. That's not the skill that we're looking for here. Okay, so another question that I want to show you will look like this. Okay, so -3 raised to the exponent 4. You need to understand that this really means -3 times -3 times -3 times -3. The shortcut, of course, is we can just look at it and say, oh wow, there's 4 negatives there. But this is, I just want to show you something because I'm going to show you a different situation right away here. Okay, so there are 4 negatives. So I know my answer is going to be positive. And again, you don't have to do that, but we're just going to go through the motions. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81. You can use a calculator. It's just, I've got age and experience on the side here. Okay, but if we had this, okay, this is a completely different situation. I probably teach this 5 times over in grade 9. I have to keep reviewing it and keep reviewing it because this is important when you get to grade 10. How many negatives show up in this question? Okay, and some of the kids in my class would yell 4. No, there is only 1 negative. This says subtract 3 raised to the exponent 4. The exponent always sits on the shoulder of whatever it's raising. Okay, so only a 3 here. This is sitting on the whole thing. This is negative 3 repeatedly multiplied. This actually says subtract 3 raised to the exponent 4. Okay, now that I'm going to revisit a few more times if we continue doing this. So my answer here is going to be negative 81. So you can see there's a difference. You have to really think about this. Okay, let's do a couple more questions together, and then I'm just going to snap a quick assignment. Okay, this is a really important skill, this multiplying of integers. If I had negative 9 times 10, I only have one negative. My answer is going to be negative 90. If I have negative 8 times negative 8, that's 2 negatives. My answer is going to be positive 64. Okay, let's try another one. Negative 7 raised to the exponent 19. I'm not even going to write that answer down. I don't even know if my calculator can handle that. All I care about right here is my answer positive or negative? And I want you to be able to tell me that is going to be a negative answer, because you're going to have 19 negatives, which is an odd number, and that makes that negative. Okay, I'm trying to keep these videos a little short. I'm going to do this again. Now, dividing is going to be even easier, because in a quotient you can only have 2 numbers. Right? You can only divide by one number by another number, so this is even easier. This is going to be the heart of the unit here. Okay, so I'm going to snap a quick question sheet, and then we'll revisit this tomorrow. Also, for those of you coming to Peacock, today was Green and Orange Day, so woo, Peacock Pride.